Man, so listen, I was just kind of chilling, and all of a sudden, man, I seen the wall start curling up and everything, and things start going weird. I start hearing mechanical noises. So I run into this room, right? And I see this man with a pyramid head and this woman that looked like a nurse, and he put out this real big, oh, yo, let me stop before YouTube get on me. I ain't trying to be age restricted. What's going on, y'all? If y'all don't know who I am, Sugarfreetp here. And I know you see the thumbnail and you see the title, but I'm about to give you the biggest disclaimer of your life. We about to get lore deep, okay? But guess what? Surprise, surprise. It ain't just me today. I got somebody to introduce you to.
Hello.
We got a lore right here. Listen, if y'all don't know, she is the expert here on Pyramid. At least more than me. You know what I'm saying?
You
so,
know,
we're gonna have a fun time here. I hope y'all are excited because, man, this is a lot closer than you think.
hello. I am Alora. I have been playing Silent Hill for years. I am a massive Silent Hill fan. Have been since the second game probably came out.
So let's set the stage. Guys, there isn't really a lot of context in which these two entities would ever really come in contact with each other. But we have created a type of pretense or situation in which we feel would best represent the way that they would actually encounter each other, because there's just there's just hardly a good reason for them to do so.
So, trying to stay as lore accurate as possible, we've come up with the following scenario to lure these two entities to clash. And we both believe that would be them being enticed by guilt, the guilt of a person. Should we give this person a name?
You know what? We should. Let's go with James Wonderland. We'll just go with James Wonderland. How about that? Yeah. And he feels extreme guilt by drowning his goldfish. Listen, listen. Stop it. Stop. I know you're looking at me stupid. Okay, listen. It's a scenario. Okay, go with. Now that we have set the stage for these two entities to come into contact, it is time for all-out war of the gods. Guys, if y'all don't know how strong these two entities are, we're about to rock your world. Let's get right on into it. Now that these two entities have finally come in contact, I think it's time we break down the anatomy of these two amazing, amazing monsters in their own right. First of all, if you don't know who Vecna is, first of all, Vecna is absolutely someone that was created in D&D. But we're going to use the Stranger Things version because, ironically, if you didn't know this, he does actually have a game where you play as Vecna. That's my reason for using him. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I don't care. I wanted to use him for a video anyway. So there you go. Anyway, Vecna, coming from the Stranger Things series, is incredibly powerful, but he's also just kind of weird looking, if we're being honest here. He has this grayish skin. He's mostly bone with like veins popping out. You should know what he looks like. I got a picture for him right here on screen. This man is intimidating. It is absolutely terrifying just to think that you'd have to sit in the presence of him. So imagine being our man, Mr. Wonderland, and seeing this man trying to come up in his dreams and start to manipulate his mind. His body, his hands, everything is just dysmorphed. He has that vaguely humanist kind of like zombie look, but he's just freaky. See, Vecna does have an identity in Henry Creel. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry. He was once a former child with psychic powers, and really his whole motivation is to completely twist the entire world using the upside down. He's truly a villain in his own right.
And introducing the one that needs no introduction, we got Pyramid Head. He's most known for the large red triangular helmet that covers his head completely and most of his chest. He's wearing an apron that's made out of human skin. And he usually is seen carrying a great knife, which is about the size of him. He sometimes also has a spear. The lore and known facts about Pyramid Head seem to suggest he embodies supernatural strength, stamina, endurance, and durability. He shows signs of immortality, high intelligence, and regenerative abilities. There also seems to be suggestions of halokinesis, which is chain manifestation and manipulation, and possible insect manipulation. He also seems to be invulnerable to conventional weapons. The theory has been suggested of him being able to summon multiples of himself. It's also possible he has the ability to control or command the creatures manifested in his world. And it's also possible he has resistance or immunity to psychic abilities. This is all aside from the fact of him wielding one of the most fear-inducing swords ever wielded. He's often portrayed with razor wire digging into his skin. He's the personification of pain and suffering, and his domineering presence is impossible to ignore. He is truly the manifestation of despair.
Man, Vecna surely does have his hands full when it comes to Pyramid Head. But don't sleep on Vecna. You might think that he's already out for the count, but he is not. Let's go over some of his abilities. This man is incredibly powerful. Now you may think he isn't compared to Pyramid Head yet, but let me try to convince you here, okay? This man has clear telepathy and mind control. He can do that absolutely with no issues whatsoever. His psychic abilities to be able to move objects and manipulate the world around him is phenomenal. He can manipulate the upside down, which is where he gets most of his powers. He gets a lot of the abilities to create different types of tendrils and different things, including bats or bat-ish like creatures to attack. He uses his ability to open portals to the upside down to summon said creatures. He can create hallucinations and even use psychological control over whom he deems worthy of it. This man is truly a powerhouse, and he is nigh immortal to some degree. Now, he has a physical body, but outside of his physical body, he cannot be harmed. But that is his main weakness, is his physical body. So this man has a lot in store, and his ability to use the Demogorgons as something to manipulate and to attack with creates a devastating foe to go against. Now what happens is our poor man James Wonderland here sees these two entities manifest from their own universe appearing before him, but not even gazing at him any longer, appearing at each other, claiming this man, but neither one willing to back down. And this is when absolute war begins.
Well, this is definitely going to be a mouthful.
That's what she said. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to do it, all right? But you know what? Now that we've explained the powers and abilities, it is time for all the things we came here to see. So, alright, we have these two meeting for the first time. What do you think's gonna happen first? Who do you think's making the first blow?
Definitely Vecna. Pyramid Head's going to be a little more focused on our James Wonderland.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think that he would immediately see Pyramid Head and go, "No, this is my prey. This is my domain. I don't know what you think you're doing here." You know, as arrogant as Vecna is, and probably make the first move. And I think this would absolutely get the attention of Pyramid Head. And this is where we can. Yeah, this is absolutely where we can go into what would these battles actually look like, because whoa, Pyramid Head is, like he said, basically invulnerable to some degree, correct?
Yes.
So we have to set this picture of where would these two be, and I think if they appeared, we would have to make them initially start battle probably in the real world or wherever James would be, correct? I think that would be the best assumption.
I agree. And I also believe that both of these entities would be trying to pull the other into their own world.
Yes. And that's guys, I cannot stress this enough. Look me in the eyes when I say this. Whoever pulls the other in has the major advantage no matter what the case is. Okay? That doesn't mean there's a guaranteed victory, but they have the advantage. And I think that's the most important thing that we can really spill out for you guys, is that whoever is in the other's domain, It's a rough time.
It is a rough time.
Now, I want to go ahead and go to my boy Vecna here. Okay, I think the first thing he's going to do is he has psychic manipulation. So he has a lot of psychic abilities, including being able to move things, so on and so forth. And I believe the first thing that he would do is use his strength. He would probably use some type of psychic manipulation, or find an attempt to enter the mind of Pyramid Head. But that's kind of a problem, isn't it?
It definitely is a problem. I don't know if Pyramid Head has a mind for him to infiltrate.
Yeah, I don't know. And guys, this is where it gets tough. We don't really know if Pyramid has a mind that can be manipulated, or if he has emotions that can be manipulated. We don't really know.
That's definitely a fair assumption.
And so we're finding ourselves looking at Vecna trying to use some type of manipulation without an ability possibly of being able to do anything. So if this is the case, then his next best step, of course, is to use what you would consider his telekinesis to push, maybe throw Pyramid Head around, things like that to try to cause damage. But we also know, man, Pyramid Head is going to tank that.
Oh, absolutely. He's not going to take that like a chump.
He's absolutely going to like take that easily, because we know that what in the story, how many he's taking, what, bullets, what else is he taking?
Bullets, pipes, all kinds of different weapons, shotguns.
So his endurability is absolutely insane. And this is where I think Vecna would truly begin to understand the depth and the strength of this opponent before him. Do you think at this point Pyramid Head would see Vecna as a threat?
I think he would start to at some point, but I think it would take a little longer than Vecna.
Yeah. I can see where that would go, because truthfully speaking, I mean, Vecna is a very arrogant, very high-strung entity, and at this point, this is all out war, and I believe that that would be the first thing that he would do. Now, here's a good question. When it comes to the ability to pull someone into their own dimension, do you think that either one of them has a greater strength to do that over the other?
Well, I definitely do think it would depend on where in the real world they are, because Pyramid Head is very highly linked to the place of Silent Hill. So if they're not in Silent Hill, it might be a little difficult for him to pull him into his world.
Yeah. I can see that. I don't know. I would also say maybe not so much. I mean, because we know that historically, right? I don't want to say Pyramid Head himself, but probably, and well, uh, what would we say?
Well,
Um,
Pyramid Head is very strongly connected to Alessa Gillespie in Silent Hill, and her being there is what manifests everything else that happens in Silent Hill. So I feel like it really would depend on how close they are to Silent Hill. However, that being said, there are suggestions, extreme suggestions, of there being influence outside of Silent Hill to pull people towards Silent Hill.
right.
Not necessarily into their world itself until they get to Silent Hill, but pulling them to the town of Silent Hill.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct there. And that was one of the thoughts that I was having with, if there is the ability to be able to manipulate outside of Silent Hill itself. And so, with that being said, depending on how strong the manipulation is, I don't fully know if Vecna could be manipulated into going into Silent Hill, but there's a possibility. And if these two entities are meeting, then that means that the strength in which they both have come to each other has their own realm behind them. So if we gave that kind of a sense of they both have an open portal, then I guess it would be whoever would be able the strongest to pull each other into their own realm.
That's a very fair assessment. I would also like to point out they both work off of emotions and the emotions of their opponent. And I don't believe that Pyramid Head has any emotions for Vecna to really work with.
Yeah. As you mentioned earlier, like one of the things we recognize is Pyramid has the potential to have psychic resistance or potentially psychic immunity, which means that there would be no way for Vecna to manipulate him. But we don't really know. It's kind of...
It is definitely questionable.
And since that's the case, I think that the first thing that we need to analyze is realizing that the first thing they probably would need to do is to attempt to pull one of each other into their own realm. And I think that would probably be where we're going to find the majority of our win conditions on either side.
I agree.
So let's start with, if Vecna pulled Pyramid Head into the Upside Down, how do you think Pyramid Head would approach being there? Do you think that he would still have his powers? Do you think that he would be still immortal? What are your thoughts on some of these scenarios?
Well, I don't think that he would lose his immortality or anything like that just because of where he is. But I don't think he would have a lot of the same abilities, just because I believe a lot of his abilities are tied to Silent Hill. He, however, would still have a very big sword, and he'd be nigh invulnerable.
Yeah, that sword is enough, man. That sword is 100% enough. I think we don't really know. So just disclaimer, everyone. We don't really know how much of Pyramid Head's powers are tied into Silent Hill. At least what would be carried outside of Silent Hill, we don't really know. So it's kind of hard to grasp on, would he still be superhuman strength and power or not? We're gonna assume so. But
I think that it's the fairest fight would be at both having max power.
Absolutely. The fairest fight would be, and the truth is, guys, they are both considered gods in their own right.
Massive powerhouses.
Yes. So in this situation where I think, here's how I would play it out. If Pyramid Head was brought into the Upside Down, I still don't think that he would be able to be mentally manipulated by Vecna. I would still stand on that. I don't think that that's the case. If we're going to go with lore accurate Pyramid Head, I would say it'd be more of a brawl than it would actually be of a mental manipulation. And there's a possibility that he could use like different types of hallucinations to maybe try to fool Pyramid Head. I don't know if it'd work. I don't know. But one thing we do know is that Vecna can manipulate the ground, the air, the things that are happening in the Upside Down. And in that scenario, he has a massive advantage, despite the fact that he could also really be encumbered with all of this fighting and eventually get exhausted if he does not indeed get rid of Pyramid Head. What do you think?
I agree 100%. I also believe that there's not going to be very much mental manipulation with regards to Vecna towards Pyramid Head. However, I would also like to add, there could be very high potential for the opposite. Pyramid Head, while he has no real emotions of his own and doesn't seem to have a mind per se for Vecna to infiltrate, they both work off of feelings. Vecna, however arrogant and destructive he could be, does have feelings that Pyramid Head could manipulate.
Oh, you're correct. Wow, yeah. He could, yeah. Because he was once a person that was tied to different emotions and probably some regrets, some different things like that. It's very possible. Because he's not immune to psychic manipulation himself. He may be strongly resistant to it because he has it, but he could possibly be manipulated himself, or at least having his emotions used in a way that could strengthen Pyramid Head.
Exactly.
Now there is something to consider. I would say there is the ability that Vecna could possibly physically manipulate the body of Pyramid Head. I don't know what the extent of that could work. Do you think that could work to some degree to maybe slow down or even stun, or maybe even just possibly stop him temporarily?
I do believe that he could be stopped temporarily. I mean, in the games, a lot of the time he stops himself. However, it's very, again, questionable where it could go because there is very limited information on exactly what Pyramid Head is and how he works. So I know in the games that he can injure himself, but
Right.
I don't know how far Vecna could take that. I don't know if it works if Vecna were to cause him to hurt himself, if that would work against Pyramid Head or not. There's really not enough information to really flesh that out.
Agreed. Let's say it would be a questionable, maybe possible win condition, but very questionable at best, and not possible at worst. So that's a toss up, and I agree that that wouldn't necessarily be something that I would consider Vecna winning on, because we just
Yes,
don't know.
there's just not enough information. And I would also like to point out that Pyramid Head would be fighting against him consistently. And if he can be exhausted, that could definitely work in Pyramid Head's favor. Pyramid Head is not going to get exhausted. He does not need sustenance. He does not need air. He is just going to be an unstoppable
Right.
fighting against it
Right.
consistently.
And that's where we come to kind of the next question would be, in this scenario, how would Pyramid Head actually be able to find Vecna and his body in the Upside Down? Do we have any really context clues of how that could actually even happen?
It depends on if he becomes attached to Vecna himself. If he becomes attached to any emotions from Vecna, he will know where he is at all of the time. There is no getting away. He will know where he is, period.
Right. But then that's under the scenario that if he can.
If he can. Now, if he can't, it will then also depend on how much of his power comes into play in Vecna's world. Can he make manifestations of himself? And if that's the case, how many of them can he make?
And then, if that's the case, how long would the battle then ensue before Vecna's destroyed? See, there's so much in just that scenario that there's, at best, there's maybe a win condition or two for Vecna. But let's go ahead and switch to the opposite role. What happens if Vecna is now brought into Silent Hill? What do you think the outcome is there?
Is Vecna's is his physical body brought, or is his manifestation brought?
I would say, for the sake of the battle itself, let's go ahead and just bring his physical body, because if it's just his manifestation, I don't think that it's really considered fair. Even though that's my guess. I would just say let's go with his physical body.
That's fair. I mean, we brought Pyramid Head's physical manifestation there, so it's only fair to go the opposite. If his physical body is brought into Silent Hill, I think it's game over for Vecna.
Yeah, probably. I think overwhelmingly to some degree. Even though Vecna still has like his like psychic powers, he still can't manipulate. He could, obviously use his powers to like blow creatures away and like manipulate to some degree the terrain, I guess, by throwing things and so forth. But I don't quite think, because of his connection with the Underdown, that he would truly really be as powerful.
I definitely, yes, he would definitely have his telekinesis, and as we've established, I don't think he would be able to use his psychic manipulation on Pyramid Head whatsoever. If he were in Silent Hill, Pyramid Head, and by extension, everything in Silent Hill is going to know where he is at all times, and it would be a non-stop onslaught. And I think eventually Vecna would just tire, and he wouldn't be able to continue, because at the end of the day, it is a human body.
Agreed. That's why I believe there'd probably be more of an assurity of victory if Vecna was brought into Silent Hill, than if Pyramid Head was brought into the Upside Down. And I think that would be where there is a defining factor of probably more of a victory for Pyramid Head in this scenario. Now, that doesn't mean
It's still questionable.
yes, it's still questionable. Exactly. It doesn't mean that there's a guaranteed victory. It just means there's more of a leniency of like 65% probably more or less. And that's, once again, who's to say? But I think the biggest, I want to say the biggest and coolest battle we could ever see would be them both manifesting and opening a portal to each other's worlds and going all out war, bringing in their monsters. Would you be able to share a few of those monsters from Silent Hill that Pyramid Head could possibly bring in?
Oh, we have the nurses, who may seem very frail at first, but they are very deadly, and they sometimes have pipes and they sometimes have knives. We have mannequins, which are a lot of leg. We have
a lot of leg. Yeah.
mandarins. We have the mandarins, which can emit a psychic, almost ear-piercing noise that can cause the entities around it to quiver, so to speak. And they have like a tentacle-like tongue that can whip out an attack. We also have quite a few different boss characters that could potentially come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Where we have Maria, who would be, let's be honest, very terrifying for Vecna.
100%.
We also have the entity of Fleshlip. Yes, that's the name.
Yes, it is.
A very gross character. And kind of moves spider-like to an extent. We have the lying figures, which can spit acid.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just all around everything just a little creepy.
Yeah. But just because, we got all these great things the Pyramid Head can bring forth, doesn't mean that Vecna has nothing on his side. Because he has quite a few random creatures that are just absolutely terrifying. First of all, the one we all are gonna know is coming out is my boy, the Demo Doggy himself, Demogorgon, okay? Any Demogorgon coming out, you guys know how ferocious that creature actually is, okay? Very aggressive, very scary. And I believe it has quite a chance against some of these creatures here. We also have what is considered their mind flayers, the spider-like creatures that they had in season 2 and season 3. If y'all don't know, spoiler alert once again. We also had there's the tentacles, the like flesh melting tentacle creatures that were going on from the Underdark, and these are just a few of just the creatures themselves that we know of that he can also create, including there were bats and different things, but we don't really know too much about them. They're like bat-like creatures. Don't really know, can't really gauge their attack strength or anything like that. But there's some creatures on here that Vecna bringing forth really does terrify me. So in that scenario of all-out war, man, we're talking about glorious. Do I think that Demogorgons could take down every single creature from Silent Hill? Probably not. No. Probably
I don't think
not.
that it would work I don't think it would go either way. I think it would just be a non-stop battle.
Yeah.
Of manifesting more and more creatures on either side. I think eventually, though, the victor would go to Pyramid Head. And I say that because Vecna is eventually going to tire.
Yeah.
And Pyramid Head is just not.
Yep. And that's where it's going to, the dependency on the W for Vecna here would be to find a way to temporarily incapacitate Pyramid Head. And that's an extremely difficult task because they're both having to open up their own realms, and Pyramid Head just doesn't tire. That's his whole thing. That really puts him at an advantage in a long drawn out battle. But let's be honest here, all of these battles are going to be long and drawn out. There is no singular win condition for either side. I'm sorry to spoil this. There are going to be some people out there that say Pyramid Head instantly one shots, game over, it's a wrap. But that's just not the case. I'm sorry.
There's going to be people who say Vecna does the same. They are both powerhouses in their own right. It's very difficult to come up with a straight up winner.
But I would say, if you put Vecna at his weakest state and Pyramid Head was attached to him and attacking him, I think that that's a clear win condition for Pyramid Head.
I do agree. It's also very difficult to come up with a Pyramid Head at a weaker state.
Though, we could talk about one thing the devs have said.
And that would be the fact that Pyramid Head is as powerful as the people he is attached to and what their feelings of guilt are. He is powerful simply because it is extremely hard for humans to accept the sins of their past.
And so, with that being said, this is directly from the developers. I brought it up here on screen. Guys, this could mean that it could put Pyramid Head in a weakened state rather more than a strengthened state, giving, if this is the case, a clear W for Vecna himself. But guys, we're not going to leave you hanging. If we were going to do a 10 out of 10 fight, we have to choose a winner. Okay? So, who do you think, best odds scenario, wins the majority of the time?
I think for me, only very slightly would I put the edge towards Pyramid Head, and that is only based on the fact that Vecna is human and will tire.
Guys, you heard it first, and I'm here to second it. I do believe that just slightly, like 5.5 out of 10 fights, that it probably would go to Pyramid Head. He just has a lot of hacks. He has a lot of abilities at his strongest that just slightly give him an edge, but it doesn't completely nullify everything that Vecna's capable of, because he is incredibly powerful in his own right. And I think we have to give it to someone. So we got to give it to our metalhead man, big sword wielding, and the cheek slapping of the nurses, PP Head himself.
And I would only like to say that at their strongest, I think if left to their full abilities, Pyramid Head takes it.
Now, some of you guys are going to be disappointed. Let me know down in the comment section below if you think we're wrong in our assessment. Let's definitely dive into it more. If there are things you feel like we missed, let us know as well. Guys, this was an amazing time. I want to give a special shout out and thanks to my friend here, Lurai. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yes, yeah, it was a great time. Guys, don't worry. We're not stopping here, because I got the next one. Oh, and if you thought this one was challenging, this next one's about to be interesting. We're definitely going to have my man at